Just a reminder here for our public comments. There's two different avenues for you to provide feedback or a comment on our homeless system. You can submit a comment from the link on our HSSN webpage. Martin is going to post the link in the chat too. A standing public comment item has been added to our monthly meeting agenda. Comments limited to 2 comments per meeting at the designated time. Each comment you're given 2 minutes, and the co-chairs will work with the county staff. Um, the public comment process, if the process needs refinement, so always feel free to give feedback around that. To make a request to make a comment within the HSSN meeting, you can direct message Lindsay Dent by 8:45. So we still got about 10 or so minutes. Include a quick topic description and organization you represent. The first 2 requests received will be provided the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes. Additional comments can be submitted through our online public comment link. If attendees do not request public comment, they will need to follow the link. So we cannot allow an open floor during the public comments section of the agenda. And any materials that haven't been pre-approved aren't accepted for public comment. We can always put it on our next agenda or resource share with announcements in the comments section, but please get those things to us beforehand. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, everybody. Wednesday for our HSSN meeting. We're going to start things off with program updates from Katie Gentry, the Homeless Services Division. Katie, whenever you're ready, please go ahead. Take the floor.
Thanks, Charlie. Katie Gentry, she, her pronouns, Washington County Homeless Programs Manager. Just a few quick updates for y'all. If you are contract with Washington County, we sent contracts out this week for review if you're a Department of Housing Services contract. So that would be kind of everything except our COC contracts went out the door on Monday of this week to executive directors. So reach out to your executive director if you want to review or have questions about that. We will have a 2-week review period, and then we will start executing contracts at the beginning of June to have them in place by July. We will also be releasing an updated program manual around the first week of June. So that is upcoming, as well as an updated eligible expense guide for the new fiscal year. Those will be uploaded in Power DMS as well as shared out with folks, sent out to kind of our standard email list. The other big update, COC contract review, will come in 2 weeks at the middle of May. Those will not be executed until we have signed our contract with HUD. So once we get that contract from HUD, we can then execute subrecipient contracts after that. But if folks have any questions about contracts, feel free to reach out to myself or Erin Babby. We can answer questions related to that. On the same vein of continuum of care, we anticipate a COC application dropping at the end of May. So we are working through updates on getting our COC application out the door. You should see something kind of right at the end of May, early June, if you're interested in applying for the continuum of care funding. In Washington County, we receive about $5.2 million in COC funding, but will not know exactly what the priorities are. We anticipate them being pretty similar to the notice of funding opportunity that was released in December by the federal administration. So we'll anticipate that our application will kind of follow the priorities of what HUD is looking for, and look really similar to the notice and application that we released during that time frame. So a webinar will be coming. We will post that, and it will go out to the HSSN listserv once we know more information and have exact timelines. The anticipated deadline for that will be probably in July, because that full application is due, we are expecting to, in August. The last kind of big thing to know is there is a lot of HUD rules that are going through kind of different public bodies. We really encourage you to tune into how Washington County's board is responding, as well as reading a lot of the notices from groups like the National Alliance to End Homelessness. They have a lot of resources. We would encourage folks to really tune into that and take a stance with your organization if you so choose. And the last big update that I have is we are in the process of updating our local implementation plan. That includes updating things around coordinated entry, our system flow through. We had a series of community engagement sessions throughout the fall and more to come this summer. So if you're interested in how we will be updating our local implementation plan, which is kind of the I would say like backbone of how we intend to operate homeless services over the next 5 to 10 years in Washington County. Would really encourage you to plug into that. We'll definitely include information in the HSSN newsletter and the listserv. We don't have anything like here is the date you come to at this point, but definitely would encourage you to kind of pay attention to that if you have interest. I think that's all the updates from me, Charlie. I'm looking at Washco staff if anybody has anything else that I should tap into, but I think that is all from me.
Awesome, thank you. I am reading an email from Lindsay a little bit late, so I'm kind of getting my bearings here, but just so everybody does know, and also thank you so much, Katie, for those updates. Just so everybody does know, the meeting is probably going to run a little bit short today because we did have one of our presenters cancel, and they'll be coming back in June. So Um, I believe we are going to move into our speakers and presentation. So the Medicaid expansion is going to be saved for June. So we're going to move into the HMIS survey analysis with Kenny Ho. Kenny, whenever you are ready, um, you can take the floor.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Can everyone hear me? Fine. Good. Let me just. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenny. I use he, him pronouns, and I am one of the HMIS program specialists at Washington County. And I had the opportunity to tap into our provider network to launch a survey back in January to ask questions regarding the HMIS training and onboarding process. So this included questions surrounding Power DMS resources and the HMIS training and life site experiences. And today I would just be presenting the results from the survey for you all today. So this survey included 10 questions and we received responses from a total of about 54 provider users. Looking at the program representation, HCMS programs made up the largest share, accounting for about 41% of all responses, in contrast to HUD and Access programs, which had far less responses. Another important point to point out is that the makeup for respondents, supervisors, and QAPs contributed 23 out of the 54 responses, or roughly 42%. And because of this, the feedback may reflect a somewhat supervisory learning perspective rather than the frontline staff alone. So this context is helpful as we interpret the results and consider areas for follow-up. Next, I just want to look at one of the questions that was asked, which was basically how confident providers user feel when performing their role in HMIS. And overall, 89% of respondents reported feeling at least somewhat confident using the system. This suggests that most users have a baseline level of comfort navigating HMIS and completing required tasks. However, this data mainly, again, reflects users in housing programs. And as we move forward, it would be valuable to kind of gauge the confidence level amongst non-housing program users as well to ensure that we have a complete picture of training and the support needed across all program types. Next, we asked provider users about the most challenging parts about onboarding, and a few themes arose to the top. One, Power DMS guides were identified as one of the biggest challenges, noted by 23% of respondents. Close behind were the training videos and the data entry exercises, which contributed to about 20% of the results and what users found difficult. And beyond these specific elements, a broader theme emerged as many users expressed that there aren't enough comprehensive guides or opportunities for in-person training. This kind of suggests that while materials exist, users may need more structure, hands-on support to fully feel prepared during onboarding. And then on the positive side, we also asked providers what they found the most helpful during onboarding. The most helpful components were the background and programmatic training. Users appreciate the understanding of why behind the workflow and the purpose of the program, how the data is being used, and how their role fits into the bigger picture. That context made the rest of the training more meaningful, and additionally, some users reported that the Power DMS guides were actually helpful, even though that others have found them challenging. This tells us that guides may work well for certain learning styles, but may still need more refinement. A question we asked was what their preferred learning style was, and shockingly enough, the results were evenly distributed amongst the three formats. This distribution suggests that there's no single training method that meets everyone's needs. So the formats were video tutorials, in-person walkthroughs, and those written instructions. And then for a portion of the survey, we use ranking tables to understand which resources provider users rely on the most and which ones they found the most effective. The mean ranks give us a clear picture of how different supports compare to one another in practice. And before we kind of dive into the results, it's important to acknowledge a couple of disclaimers that I'd like to point out. First of all, our current workflow naturally redirects users to Power DMS and their QAPs if they have one. So we would expect resources like the HMIS bookings, ticket submissions, and office hours to kind of rank slightly lower because they're used less frequently. And again, lower ranking in those areas don't necessarily reflect their value, just lower exposure. Secondly, QRPs who completed the surveys may not rank themselves highly, which can introduce a modesty bias in the results. This means that the perceived effectiveness of QAP support may actually be underrepresented. And so keeping in mind of these caveats helps us interpret the ranking tables more accurately and understand where the data may be influenced by current workflow patterns or respondents' behaviors. Here we're looking at how providers prioritize different support resources when they have questions about their workflow. The bar chart shows the percentage of users who selected each resources as their first through sixth choice. Here we can see that Power DMS has the strongest average ranking at 1.95, followed closely by team members or peers at 2.02. Taken together, both of these charts highlight that the users first turn to internal team knowledge and written guidance, while structured HMIS support channels such as the bookings, office hours, and support tickets are used more selectively and often later in the troubleshooting process. And then lastly, we ask provider users how they rank, where they usually get the best answers in for their HMIS questions or concerns. So looking at the bar chart, two resources stand out as the most common first choices, which are the Power DMS and the team members or peers, which they both tie around 37%. However, with the mean ranking, team members and peers rank higher overall with a rank of 2.26, slightly outperforming Power DMS. So Power DMS still also remains at a high value resource as 2.77, even though some users express challenges with the guides during onboarding. This suggests that once users kind of grow more familiar with Power DMS, they tend to find it more dependable, or even if the initial learning curve is steep. So across the data you've seen so far, a clear theme kind of emerges. Users prefer immediate, easily accessible support, whether that's a coworker, familiar training guide, or a QRP that they know. higher touch resources like tickets or office hours offer value, but they play more of a secondary or follow-up role rather than being the first line of support. So that is just a summary of the different questions that were asked. We did have a bunch of like comments throughout the survey with like fill in the blanks or just any additional question concerns, but most of them kind of fall back on the point where, they express concerns on the lack of in-person training or just having a more clear written guides on Power DMS. So I'm not sure if we have time for comments or questions. I don't know if anyone to have any, but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to kind of close out that loop and present the results to you all.
Kenny, it looks like Cameron has a question.
Yes, Cameron.
Morning, Kenny. I had a question more about your kind of follow-up outreach efforts to try and get that kind of feedback from more frontline users.
Mhm.
Frontline users in a lot of organizations are the ones doing a lot of that data entry and then going to the people who are the ones clearly responding to the survey. And trying to take time and prioritize the time to give feedback is hard. Frontline workers are just so committed to the job um, and that's in front of them. So I'm just kind of curious about some kind of outreach ideas to reach frontline workers, but also those like outside of housing, like you were saying, outreach to the outreach and the shelter staff who also really do have to do data entry, and housing is very reliant on outreach and shelter to do that. And so really wanting to know how they feel about HMIS too. So just wondering how to reach them and get their feedback.
Yeah, that's a very good questions and questions that I had myself when looking at the results and seeing how dominant the housing programs were in terms of responses. So one of the few steps moving forward is something like this, where this was the first time for me presenting this results at a bigger audience at the HSSN meeting. Moving forward, I am trying to look for this type of approach in the other monthly meetings. I know that, for example, shelters, they have their all shelter monthly meetings and the liaisons, for example. So hoping to use those meeting avenues to kind of present these results as well, and then provide an opportunity for feedback and questions during those time as well. But that is still in the works and um, needing to communicate that those next steps.
Okay, am I allowed a follow-up? Um, Only because obviously that's going to be more feedback kind of just in the moment and in response to this feedback, right? So it wouldn't necessarily give you that same data set to compare because it wouldn't be actually doing the survey for comparables. So is that just going to be kind of like ad hoc kind of results through this process of presenting the information and gathering feedback that way?
Yes, as it currently stands, it would be more of an ad hoc type of approach. But um, I'm definitely open to kind of redesigning or the survey and presenting that as we move forward to the next fiscal year and trying to identify um, any gaps that we can fill with our trainings.
The last thing I wanted to just point out was I found that the learning style question, I one really appreciated it because I was one of those people that took the survey. But also that it's not surprising actually that it does kind of go across the board, right? I think that's really representative of just how people are, and that we need all of the options, unfortunately, which puts a lot of work on you all to make that happen, to meet the learning styles of everyone. Um, So that was just probably one of my own highlights that was like, oh yeah, go figure, that you're gonna need to do all the things all the time to meet the needs, which is really how this work goes. So thank you so much for this presentation.
Yeah, Lindsay.
Thanks, Charlie. And great questions, Cameron. I wanted to plug that first, I know surveys can come with mixed emotions, but there is a readiness assessment survey coming out as soon as May 11th, and it's really going to help us prepare for the upcoming HMIS implementation. And part of that is gaining the feedback. So, like Cameron's mentioning, or with different teams and agencies, to tailor how we are going to best tailor our communication and employ different engagement strategies to meet everybody's needs. So, be on the lookout for that. Please be encouraged to participate in it so that we can help serve everyone and make the implementation process a success.
Great. Thanks, Lindsay. Okay. So, any
Actually,
other
Charlie,
questions? Yeah.
if I
Uh-huh.
could jump in. Hey, everybody, this is
Sure.
Martin.
Hmm.
Kenny, thank you for that presentation. That was really interesting. Like, I know it was a lot of work to have the survey done, and capture the data and start like slicing them up and parsing it into like something digestible, which that was really interesting to me. I'm curious if like your team, if there's any surprises in the data, like anything that you didn't expect going into it. And then also I heard you and Lindsay speak to it a little bit more, but like, what is the team doing with these results? It sounds like getting some more feedback based on the presentation here. But like, what is kind of maybe that longer term process for what we do with the survey results?
Yeah, great questions. I think one of the biggest surprises was the learning styles. We kind of expected, um, we didn't really expect it to be an evenly split. Um, as we saw with the results, personally, I would have expected the in-person walkthroughs to kind of lead the charge, but surprisingly enough, like a lot of people prefer video tutorials, which for us that's is a challenge as we have I do admit that our videos may be outdated based off of current um, expectations. So that's something that we're kind of thinking ahead when we are moving to the next implementation of how we can create um, these guides that are more flexible and easily more accessible and can be changed at a quicker rate. And in terms of next steps, we're trying to find that balance between those short-term wins and also the long-term wins, knowing that we are transitioning to new HMS implementation that does have a new set of challenges where basically we have to make sure that we're balancing the needs now, but also um, be conscious of the amount of effort we put in as we will need to make new training materials in the following years or so. So right now, I think Lindsay and I have talked about kind of reorganizing Power DMS for the first part of in terms of the short-term wins to kind of make that more clear and organized for users to be more confident and comfortable navigating those resources to perform their duties.
Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, I was just going to touch on the DMS portion. Maybe unsurprisingly, there's been some criticisms within this survey about Power DMS. And so we are having those conversations both internally and regionally and really taking a look at the landscape and what can we do, especially in parallel to the HMIS implementation. What can we do to either improve or reinvent a training platform that really is effective and user friendly?
Thank you both. That's really exciting. Training obviously so important in helping the folks who are helping ultimately the folks find some stability in life. Thank you both.
Awesome. Great dialogue around the survey. Does anybody else have anything for Kenny? Okay. If you do, you can always feel free to ask questions in the chat. And we are going to move on to HSSN nominations and elections. Nadia, go ahead and take it away whenever you'd like.
Hi all. This is a bit bittersweet because we've loved having Charlie as co-chair. I think you've been here just about as long as I've been here. So it's hard to imagine that it's been 2 years of Charlie being co-chair. 4 years. So okay, so it was like way preceding me.
I used to do COC, just a little backstory on me before I get kicked out. I used to do the COC board for a couple years, and then
Yeah.
I was the chair, I mean the co-chair,
Mhm.
and then I was the chair, and yeah, that's my story.
So, so we are having elections. We do have someone who is interested, and I will ask them to speak in just a moment. But before that, I just want to say thank you to Charlie for your dedication and your service and your time. Way more time than I actually remembered. And then with that, the person who expressed interest is Cameron Murphy. So, Cameron, if you want to take a minute or two to introduce yourself and talk about yourself.
My favorite. Um, um, but hi everyone. I'm Cameron Murphy. If you regularly attend HSSN, you see me always joining in with questions and comments, either auditorily or in the chat. So I finally got to meet Charlie in person yesterday, which was so exciting, honestly, because we see people in boxes all the time. So it's always just so nice to get that three-dimensional life versions. So yeah, I've been attending since I was part of McKinney-Vento with the Hillsborough School District, and that was a great introduction. And that's how I understood what Safe Place was and Boys and Girls Aid. And shortly after that, started working here. I've always worked with transition age youth, um, whatever age range that gets defined at, depending on. But they're my heart. Because when I think about system improvements and prevention and how can we really get ahead of ending generational homelessness and lifelong homelessness and things like that, those are who I'm thinking about and working for. So yeah, I'm just really committed to like system improvements, which is why Kenny with the data stuff is always going to be like my favorite part because I want to get upstream. I want to help our direct service workers do their jobs and make sure that they have the supports and knowledge. And I think HSSN's just one of those places where so many people from so many different places get to come together and have that knowledge sharing. And then what do we do with it? Which is my also second favorite part is get it and then do something with it. And I think that's what we all want to do here. And I just kind of want to be part of that process and facilitate what I can. And then, outside of that work life and the nerd life, I do love indoor plants. I do love trying to garden. I'm a first year baseball parent, so loving life, going all over the place for that. And road tripping and traveling whenever I can.
Thank you, Cameron. Um, I think we're going to do the vote via Zoom poll. Is that right? We're in.
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now if we're ready.
Right. Yep.
All right, folks should be seeing the poll, and they are anonymous votes, so Right, looks like the poll responses are starting to slow down. We've got, I think, 40 or 49, and it is an overwhelming yes, is what we're seeing from the results.
All right. Well, welcome, Cameron. We'll be in touch. And thank you again, Charlie. And if anyone else wants to jump in and say anything to either Cameron or Charlie, we have a little bit of time. So, Lindsay.
I did want to say congrats. I'm really excited as part of the Wash Coach staff that helps out with HSSN. I know that the two of us don't really know each other, but what I do know about you is that you're a phenomenal advocate across the region. So I am really excited to see where you and others decide to take HSSN and improve it for providers because we really do want this to be a space that is useful for everybody. So I'm very excited and looking forward to work together.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, Cameron is a fierce advocate and they are going to be so marvelous in this space. I'm so excited to continue to join these meetings and see where everybody goes. So it looks like we are, we don't have a public comment. So we're going to bypass that and jump into announcements. We'll start with Lindsay. Lindsay's going to talk a little bit about Mental Health Month. Lindsay, whenever you're ready.
All right, it's me again. Sorry, everyone. No, but as most of you probably know, May is Mental Health Month. 2026, the theme this year is More Good Days Together. So, really, the idea is to encourage everybody to reflect on what a good day looks like. And I did want to just give a couple of very brief, quick facts, and I'll drop some resources in the chat. And then I'm really want to open the floor if anybody else has good resources or upcoming events that they want to share. But quick fact, Mental Health Month was established in 1949 by Mental Health America to both increase awareness and celebrate recovery. And 75% of mental health issues begin before the age of 25. Along with that, more than 1 in 4 or greater than 1 in 4 adults are affected by mental illness. There's a lot of toolkits. I'll start there. There are highlighted weeks that you can check out in this attachment that I'm linking for agencies to be able to post around their agency if they'd like. And then, of course, in Washington County, we have a crisis line and a behavioral health support team line that will help sort of triage you or your participants' needs. And I will drop those as well. But that's really all I had to share. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Lindsay. Um, and then let's see. Lindsay, did you go over the harm reduction? Sorry, did I miss that? The
Oh,
naloxone training?
trainings too. Yes, I do have
Oh,
some
okay.
trainings up. I think I have 2 or 3 training updates. On May 19th, we've got a grief readiness behavioral health of living and dying in-person training. I will drop the flyer to that in the chat. CEUs, I believe, are available for that training. The other one is, let's see. Oh, the harm reduction, naloxone administration. I don't have a flyer for that yet, but it will be coming out through the HSSN Digest, so be on the lookout. Will be May 28th at 9 a.m. and that will be virtual. So hope everybody can attend that. And then the last thing I will plug in here is upcoming Fair Housing Council of Oregon. If you've attended an FHCO training, you know they're really great and knowledgeable. They're always offering various trainings, and so we've got some upcoming opportunities there that you're welcome to check out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. Lots of good trainings on the board. Oh, sorry.
I have a quick announcement
Yeah.
that I'm going to post in the chat. It's just that the Office of Access and Opportunity is doing a free clothing giveaway this week, tomorrow and Friday. I've posted the details. It's in the Public Services Building, which is on First Ave in Hillsborough. You can message the email there for the OAO with any questions, but you can please share that with anyone you think it might be helpful for.
Thanks, Nadia. That's great. Okay, let's close it out with any updates going around at agencies, any highlights, any kudos. Yeah, opening the floor. We need good news. No news can be good news too, so that's okay. Let me think of one. For my agency, our new HCMS case manager has recently gotten all of her participants housed. So that's a huge win. Nobody is outside, everybody's inside and happy. So, and I know that there's a lot of that work going on out and about. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Hi,
Give it another 30 seconds. Yeah, go for it, Liz. Yeah.
this is Liz. Yeah, from I'm a family partnership advocate at Tiger Tualatin School District. Thank you for having me. I am. I didn't brush my hair this morning, so I apologize. I don't want to be on video. I just wanted to update that we are having our kinder kickoff events within our elementary schools, and we will be connecting families with resources as well as serving our McKinney-Vento families. So if you have a family within our school district or not, we can, connect them with services, but we're ramping up our efforts to ensure that our children are enrolled for upcoming kindergarten and school year. Thank you. Oh, hi, Caitlin. I miss you too.
Thank you, Liz. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Our next meeting is going to be happening June 3rd at 8:30 a.m. So please be there if you can. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.